I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
Yes.
but
We are back again, guys, and this is week 4, round 4 of the Formula Ford Ray Esports series. Coming to you again from Ledenon, Randall. Last week, SRF was wild here, but before we get to that, we are joined by a very special guest today, by the one, the only, Stevie Ray. Stevie, thanks for joining us in the booth this afternoon.
Yeah, my pleasure. It ought to be a lot of fun.
It should be. It really will be. But Randall, let's come to you. The spec racers were great here. Formula Forge, you think they can put on as good of a show?
Oh, I expect that it'll be just as good, if not better, this week. These cars are a little bit slower. They'll be able to attack some of these corners a bit more, and the hairpins in the valley are going to be extremely fast in these cars.
Yeah, I am super excited for what we're about to see here. We try to do this. We're going to go on board with one of these drivers here. We're just going to have to find one that, is getting close. So give us 1 second here, and Randall, I will let you take us on a lap. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and follow Jason Green here, who was a big topic of discussion last week. Almost about to start his lap, Randall, so it's up to you.
We see him here. He's winding down the hill, coming up to that last real corner of the track. There's a bend in the start-finish straight that will easily be flat out in these cars. See, big run up the hill, getting a good exit out of this corner is going to be extremely important, not only for your qualifying lap, but all your race laps. We'll see a lot of overtakes coming into turn one. Turn one here, obviously that really tricky triple left. See, it gets all the way over to the right, all the way across the line to really open up the entry. Keeping a nice tight line through the first and second apexes, drifts it all the way out, and then brings it back to the left for that third apex to get a good run down the hill. Easy, flat right-hander as he comes over the crest down the hill. The first of these downhill hairpins takes a really wide entry, gets that to the throttle as early as possible, uses that uphill to get some more grip, comes up the crest. Not quite blind, but nearly blind hairpin at the top of the hill. Then they're going to dive back down. You see, you're going really wide, using every bit of track here, and that's going to be extremely important for a good lap time. A little bend to the right, a bit of a lift, and a big braking zone up onto the banking, back into the throttle as he comes through the right-hand hairpin there. Going to keep a nice tight exit to open up this kink to the left. It's blind as you approach. Not as tricky in these cars as it was in the Spec Racer Ford, but those two corners are going to be the big mistake generators. Keeps a nice tight line through that left-hander, comes down the hill, back where we started to pick him up, a bit of a winding section. Tricky braking here on this last corner. You see he wants to really open up the entry there to try to get as much of a straight line braking as possible while maintaining a good line through that final corner and get on that throttle early, get that good run up the hill.
We can see here, again, at the top of the screen, you will see S1, S2, and Masters. Masters is in yellow, and I'll make sure to change this on the timing tower so you can actually see the position of the Masters classes in 1 second here. But, yeah, S1 in red, and S1 is 3,000 and above. S2, 3,000 and below. We're talking high ratings here. Masters is, I believe, the 60-plus club. And as we saw last week, Mr. Yorgmani may be 60 plus, but he's extremely fast, and it looks like he's got it again here today, but it's a little bit different this time, Randall. You can see that the S1 drivers are actually closer to the top, well, right now are at the top of the timing tower, as it was last week. It wasn't really so.
This is definitely a rhythm track. It's going to probably favor some of the more aggressive drivers a bit. You're going to see the drivers that are using more of the track width are probably going to have the better lap times around here, and that'll be more pronounced on a track with this many corners than it was on Sebring Club. But don't count out those Masters drivers, especially Yorgmani. We saw him have a solid run last week. I believe he finished third last week.
Yes,
overall.
He did. So it's definitely going to be a lot of fun here. See what we got going on. Stevie, before we get into the race here, we've been watching qualifying. You got Christian Kabenka, who was not with us last week, is with us this week. Who do you think's going to be the fast guy here around Ledenon this afternoon?
Yeah, that's going to be a good question. As he was saying, this track is really going to favor the experienced guys. Don't ever count out Jorg. Antonio Reese is right there as one of the Masters, but Christian is known to kind of be there at the end, be a closer. So watch out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Randall, I've got a few drivers I've got to throw in the overrides here, so I'm going to let you talk in your most beautiful voice as possible while I try to get these drivers in some overrides.
Right now, we're seeing Christian Kabenka is on the top of the leaderboard, and not very far behind him, James Berry and Jason Green. So we expect to see a really hot duel there at the front end of the field once the race starts. Megan Overstreet, she was extremely fast last week, had a couple issues early in the race, but is now running P4. Then, of course, Yorgmani and Antonio Reese there in 5th and 6th, representing the Masters division, fast enough to be up there with the S1 drivers. Then we have Søren Gertis there in P8 coming, and then he's got a bit of a gap. He's a couple tenths behind the cars ahead of him, but he's also not been out there as much as some of the other drivers, so he might not have set his time on as good as warmed up tires or as low of fuel. She should expect the slipstream to kind of even these drivers out, try to keep the pack together as long as there's no big incidents up front to stretch them out. Then we have Jesus Rodriguez now in P10. My two different timing screens are really giving me difficulties here. So actually, Christian Kabenka is in P2, we actually have Sam Spinale running P1, and he has a 3 3/4 gap to Christian Kabenka.
That is actually, yeah, I apologize for the overlay here, guys. That's one of the drivers that are not in the overrides right now, and that's what I'm trying to, who I'm trying to get. So I might have to work on this during the race. Qualifying has just ended. So as we go through the results here in the grid, it will look a little bit off. But yes, Sam Spinale is actually in first place right now, with Christian Kabenka there in second. You've also got Jake Richardson there in 9th position. Another driver that's not quite been put in the overrides yet, but we will get those 2 drivers in there as quick as possible.
So yeah, a couple of new guys this week. Sam Spinale was with the league last season and actually won one. Jake Richardson is brand new today.
Sam with that massive 3 3/4 of a tenth gap. The 3 3/4. Well, how am I going to say this? Apparently, words are escaping me here. 3.375. Now it's almost a half-second gap to P2. He has found something out there that nobody else has found. So I'm wondering if there's a section of this track where he's able to cut an apex a bit more than everybody else that nobody else has really been able to take advantage of, where he's flirting with the track limits a bit more. We're waiting for the grid to show up now. A couple drivers still out there to take their final lap. We got one more coming now. Looks like Megan Overstreet is out there on track, still coming through turn 10 and now through turn 11. We saw last week with the SRS turns 10 and 11 on the first 4 or 5 laps. There was somebody having an off or a mistake there every lap in the beginning. I think we'll see a bit more of a tame race with these cars. They have a bit more grip. They're a little bit lower speed, but that's still going to be the trickiest part of the track. Just waiting now for the grid to show up and waiting for the session to be officially closed. And now we're seeing cars on track, and with your pole time, Sam Spinale in P1, Christian Kabenka going to start P2. Behind them, James Berry and Jason Green. Coming in 5th, Megan Overstreet with Jörg Manny starting alongside her in 6th. Antonio Race starting 7th. Søren Garrett's in P8. Jake Richardson in P9. And I think he's the first of the S2 cars. P10 is going to be Jesus Rodriguez. 11 is going to be David Foy. And P12 is going to be Wilson Garcia. P13, Michael McConnell in the number 62 Furball Racing Machine, starting alongside Alan DeGassis. P15, Joshua Wilkie with Brad Cathcart starting alongside. P17, going to be Adam Barney with a name I haven't seen in quite a while, the always fast Joshua Soto starting in P18. Andrew Love starting P19. He had a really good race last week. Made his way up the field a bit. We'll see if he can repeat that this week. P20, Jimmy Libacca. P21 is going to be Jimmy Brewster in the Masters division. P22, Bill Walker. P23, Jeff Jacobson starting alongside Jorge Gonzaga. P25 is going to be Dana Bowes starting alongside Paul Jackson. And then P7, bringing up the last row of the field, is going to be Gary Wobolt and Thor Tulo.
Randall, I'm sorry, man. I'm still working on these overlays. Guys, just give us 1 second here. We will get this worked out, I promise.
So just to confirm here, Sam Spinale is in the Spec 1 class, and Jake Richardson is in the Spec 2 class. We're waiting for the green. We're going to have a rolling start here. We have the eyes on the front row. It's a very short pace lap. We're going to see them come up the hill. The pace car is going to jump into the pits. They're coming through turn 11 now, so not a very long pace lap. Maybe try to do a little bit to get some temperature into these tires, but they're not going to be able to do it until they're really taking some of these corners in anger. And it'll take maybe the better part of a lap and a half to 2 laps to really get these tires up into a good working temperature. So watch these early laps, especially these first couple corners. We're going to see a lot of 3 wide action, maybe even 4 wide action. These cars, very narrow, a lot of room to race. As they come up the hill, we see the pace car has dove into the safety of the pit lane under the control of Sam Spinell. He's waiting, and we should get the green any moment now. We're just waiting for him to go. Green flag is displayed. The cars are now under racing conditions, and Sam Spinell takes the lead as they go into turn 1. He covers off a little bit, but still takes a tight entry, and looks like the top 5, 6, 7 have already started to work out into a single file line behind with a bit more action 2 wide. We don't really see any 3 wide. I was a little surprised. Expected to see a bit more 3 wide action as they come through the first downhill hairpin. Sam has definitely got an easy control of this race. Now to trying to set the pace as everybody tries to get the heat into those tires.
All right, I think we got it all worked out, and we are green, like you said, Randall. Everybody looks to be doing pretty well right now. You can see the track map up now. All right, we are now in business, and we are racing here for the next 40 minutes, Randall.
It looks like we have a couple off there at the back of the field.
We do, actually, and we will get back to that. Looks like Jimmy Lidbaka and Jeff Jacobson were the ones off. We will keep on this battle just real quick, and then we will definitely get back to them. And again, I apologize for the overlays. We are...
Got an overtake for the lead attempt there. It looks like Christian Kabanka was looking on the inside of that hairpin, and did not quite get it pulled off. Sam's going to hold the lead, but I expect we're going to see a very, very hungry Christian Kabanka coming up the hill here.
Yep, we will, and there is a slipstream opportunity, especially in these cars, and he is extremely close. Is Christian going to try to... He is going to go to the inside here on Sam. Now, the question is Sam going to give him the room? Sam's out wide. Sam just lets him go. No need to battle Randall. And Stevie, I guess, question for both of you guys, and I brought this up last week. The tires will last on these cars, but I've heard they're not the greatest as they're still too wide.
We saw Christian run a bit wide there after the second apex, and Sam was able to get his nose back in there and into the front, but it looks like Christian is going to come out the better in the end. He's still got the lead, but they're running too wide up to turn 6. Christian able to keep that position defended and retains the lead. Sam Spinell is all over him though, so definitely putting the pressure on, keeping the pressure on. Sam probably the faster car right now, but Christian Kabanka is able to have the better track position and is starting to defend. They're coming through the tricky turns 10 and 11. We haven't seen anybody really go off there. Turn 6 seems to be the snake bite turn so far this race. So this is where we saw the pass for the lead last lap, and now Christian is able to cover that off, and it retains the lead.
And as you guys can see here on the timing tower there on the left, you can see the intervals. Yellow, pretty close. Orange, very close. White, not so close. And as you can see, there are battles going on and off throughout the field right now. So we're trying to get to all of them. They're going 2 by 2 almost down the front stretch, Randall. They are not leaving it till the last lap. They're going on minute number 3.
Absolutely. There's a lot of swapping going on at the front of the pack. So we see now, this time, a replay of last lap with the cars reversed. Sam running a bit wider there at the second apex, and Christian trying to stick his nose in there on a tighter line. And we're going to see this probably play out very similarly to the last lap throughout the entire lap. And this could be the entire race, just swapping back and forth, trying to have that lead position the entire time. Now, Christian knows that Sam was much faster in qualifying, so the more that he pressures him and it makes him have to defend, the slower that he'll be, and the better chance he'll have to keep fighting for that lead. However, that's going to keep the drivers behind him right there.
I got to cut you off here, Randall, because there is a bit of a break in the action up front. So we're going to go here to Jorg Monty. He is winning in the Masters right now with Jake F. Richardson back here in the lead for Spec 2 right now. But even this battle's close between Jake Richardson and Wilson Garcia. They are also very close. So there are, again, battles going on all over the track right now. And back to the front, it looks like they're about to go at it again.
I expect they'll be going at it again and again and again this entire race. The only time we'll probably see this break up is if anybody takes an alternate pit strategy. Right now, a bit of a breakaway group in the front. We have, it looks like 7 or 8 cars with a bit of a gap back. Yeah, the top 8 with a bit of a gap back to P9, but the P9 is not out of contact completely yet. So if any of these drivers start fighting, we could see this group reform and be much bigger than 8 cars. But right now, the lead pack 8 cars looking pretty tidy. Looks like they've kind of sorted out where they want to be and are now going to be settling and possibly saving a little bit of fuel, trying to make that pit stop shorter.
They absolutely are. Stevie, what are your thoughts on the pit stops? Have you run these Formula Fords that much, and when do you do it?
I've always had a strategy that in practice I figure out my burn off per lap and how much extra I'm going to have to take, and then how many laps that's going to be to burn off that. So I'm known as one of the first pitters. Everybody says when I pit, the pits are open because I burn off enough and then just let it fill up. It makes it simple for an old man.
Well, sometimes simple is the best route. Randall, what would you do for your pit strategy? Megan's getting very loose, lost about 3 or 4 positions here.
We saw Megan under pressure from Jörg Manny and having to defend, and it was causing them to lose a bit of time to the top 4. Now that gap is over a second. They've lost the slipstream, so they'll have to work very hard to get it back together. Then we see her coming through the mistake generator, turns 10 and 11, and runs really wide and has to surrender a few positions. And now it looks like it's going to lose another coming down the start-finish straight.
All right, so
Megan's struggling early again.
She is too wide right now. She's battling, but we will try to get back here to the start. We'll go and see exactly what happened here on the green flag between Jimmy Litbaka and Jeff Jacobson. Yeah, it just before the green flag even drops, it looks like, Randall.
No, this is on the first lap. They're coming up to turn 6. There's a little bit of swapping going on, and everybody's backing up. It's tight. The pack is still a little tight. We have a bit of a sin there on the inside. These open wheel cars don't take the contact very well. We see some wheel to wheel contact. They both get tied up with each other and out in the kitty litter. Both able to get it back going, but they're quite a ways off of the pack now.
We also had a bit of an incident here with Andrew Love, and it looks like this was going into turn 1. See exactly what happened with Andrew here. Oh, just lost the rear end. Great job getting off the track. Nobody else collected there.
Just a little eager optimism ahead of a adhesion there, and just probably carrying a little bit too much brake. Probably tried to brake a little bit later or brake at his normal point, and the tires were still cold. Ends up biting him, but like you said, gets it out of the way. No damage, rejoins.
We also had an incident here. We got Paul Jackson, but Michael McConnell, who was definitely very fast in practice here, wins profile picture of the day for sure. And got on the curbs a little bit. See exactly what happened. Mistake generator, Randall? No.
Again, it looks like probably just carrying a little too much brake. These things are very sensitive to trail braking. If you carry a bit too much, gives that front end too much grip, and it'll go right around on you.
Yep, absolutely. We do have a few more battles here. Looks like Antonio Reese is kind of in a battle here with the Season 1 Spec 1 driver of Soren Garrett's. Very close. This is actually a 3-way battle between Jorg, Antonio, and Soren.
And we see now that the gap has gotten bigger up to P4, and Jason actually on a bit of an island himself has lost a bit of contact with the top 3. But these 3 going right at it, we see you're getting really, really squirrely. There through the back
no!
end, some contact. Oh no! Jörg and Antonio, the 2 Masters leaders, both with issues and now dropping down the order. Looks like it's going to be DeGassis is going to pick up the Masters lead off of that, running P10 overall as these 2 continue to drop down the field.
Well, Allen has just gotten himself a gift here, Randall. He is not only is he the Masters leader right now, the second place now is Jimmy Brewster. He's got about 5 cars in between him and Jimmy.
And you got to feel for Antonio Reese there. Jörg was struggling and having issues in that turn 9 corner after getting really squirrely there on the banking, and he really didn't have much choice. He had to go for the spot. It was there. The lane was open on the inside. Jörg lost it there through turn 9 a bit again and collected Antonio. And he couldn't back out, or else he would have been under fire from the cars behind. So he really had to go for it there, and was just an innocent bystander.
Let's go back and watch it one more time. Why not? Because this is very unfortunate for all the cars involved. You can see Antonio, Jörg, all together. It just Jurg, like you said, just got loose, and there's really not much. Once that car starts to go on you, Antonio was already in that position. There's nothing he could have done.
We saw Jurg was getting loose through turn 8 and carried it all the way up onto that banking. He got onto that banking. It really threw the weight of the car off and just kept wanting to spin him around. It shot him off towards the right-hand side of the track. He was able to gather it up in time for the corner, but then once he was in the corner, those tires were still complaining. We now see Megan Overstreet. Oh, gonna
my
get collected.
goodness.
We have a bit of a kerfuffle here on turn 11. Man, I didn't think these cars were going to struggle so much in turn 11, and boy, was I ever wrong.
Now, Stevie, why would these cars be struggling so much in turn 11? They don't have much downforce. Obviously, you're going over a hill, but would it really cause that much of an issue?
Yeah, I'm not sure, unless they were battling and had heated up the tires and was just a little extra slick coming over it.
These tires are very, very easy to overheat. It's one of the trickier parts of driving this car. They're basically pizza cutters. They are street tires, so they do not take the G's very well. We see Megan Overstreet is rolling again. She's still in P6, so not a whole lot of time lost. Hopefully not much suspension damage on that car, as she is right on Gertis's gearbox. Going to try to get that move back. These two collected last time through turn 11.
We have, I think, a new change for Spec 2. Wilson Garcia now in the lead. It looks like they were battling Walker. I don't know what exactly happened to Walker, but he is way back there now. There have been cars all up and down. My timing tower, my incident counter is absolutely pinging in red right now. So trying to figure out what's going on. We got people into the pits. David Foy, Paul Jackson, I believe. Oh, well, yep, that is exactly why they're in the pits. You're supposed to have a front end on vehicles, and his is not there.
We see David Foy has also been towed. Looks like he got collected in that incident in turn 11. There's some developments up front, too. We see Christian Kabenka is now in P4, and there's a bit of a gap between him and the top 3. So I wonder if there was an incident while we were watching some of these other incidents go on, possibly something going on with the top 3. But Sam Spinell still leads over James Berry and Jason Green. Sam has now a 3-second lead over P2, so he's running away now, and I really suspect that Christian and Sam may have had a bit of an incident while we were watching some of these other battles.
Yeah, looking here through the timing tower, I really don't see much. Now, that's not saying that it couldn't have happened, but yeah, like I said, there has been stuff all up and down. Can't really find it. I'm sure we might be able to get a little bit of insider information after the race, but yeah. Back here, Alan DeGassis, leader in the Masters class, now sitting in 7th place. He has been, what's the word? The contributor, not the contributor. Give me a word, Randall. I'm trying to think of the word. The benefactor of all of the crashes that have gone on in front of him.
Yeah, he was given an offer he couldn't refuse, and now has gotten quite a few positions out of it. We're seeing them really struggle coming out of turn 8. Lots of sliding going on. We saw it bit Jurgen earlier in the race, and now we're seeing other cars struggle. These tires, now that they've got a few laps on them, they're really going to be struggling with overheating if they're overdriving at all. So it's going to be a bit of man in the game.
Did you just see that slide from Jorge Gonzaga?
Yeah, they are really sending it around turn 8. That seems to be just the way that the weight changes on the car with the elevation change and hitting that curb. It's really, really tricky, as now he's dealing with that tricky turn 11. And it seems like if you're sliding coming through 8, it's punishing you all the way up the hill through turn 11. And it seems to be whenever you see a driver make a mistake, it's generated because of a mistake a few corners earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. We got the furball racing car of Michael McConnell locked in a battle between him, Jimmy Brewster, and Bill Walker. They are all extremely close as well, and this is for 7th, 8th, and 9th overall. And it is for, actually, yeah, I mean, with 2nd place in the Masters with Jimmy Brewster, and Bill Walker really wants to try to get by these guys as quick as possible because Wilson is driving away.
And we've seen a couple cars pit in the last couple laps. Søren Gertis coming out of the pits. Looks like Jake Richardson also coming out of the pits. Brad Cathcart and Antonio Reyes have already pit. Looks like Antonio was able to rejoin. I know that he was part of that issue with Jurg earlier, so He might be good to go at this point. I'm not sure if the pit window was quite open yet whenever he had to come in for repairs, but he is back on track. We see Sam Spinell here leading with quite a comfortable gap, nearly 4.5 seconds, and that's getting bigger every lap by a couple tenths, it seems like.
Looks like there was just an overtake. Adam Barney got around Gary Woolbolt. Woolbolt sitting right now 3rd in class in Masters, with Adam sitting 5th in class in S2. Beautiful car as well. Takis, not a bad choice. I like Takis.
We're seeing the top 3 are all separating quite a bit, all running their own race. Not really a lot of slipstream, but they have a comfortable margin back to P4. So your podium probably looking pretty decided here, unless I can bestow a bit of the commentator's curse and get some action going up front.
I've just been told that trading paints may not be on. I can go ahead and try to refresh these and see if it'll see if we can get some different paints here.
And Stevie, let's go to you. What were you trying to say?
I was going to say, going back to the tires again and overheating, if I remember right, the track is pretty hot today, and the guys have not had this hot of a track today. We practice at 8 a.m., qualify at 11 a.m., and the race is at 1 p.m. in sim time, so they've got a hot track.
Absolutely. The track temperature right now, good point, Stevie. Track temperature is 125 degrees Fahrenheit or 52 degrees Celsius. Apparently, this little section of France is much closer to the sun than the rest of the planet. It is absolutely boiling out there, and these little tires will not like that at all.
Yeah, I saw a forecast for 82 degrees Fahrenheit today there or something, so it'll give a hot track.
Absolutely,
the sun
will.
is beating down.
We still have this battle going on right now between Bill Walker, Alan DeGeus, and Jimmy Brewster, still going at it at the moment. I'm sorry, Bill Walker, Wilkie, and Brewster. My bad. But, yeah, these 4-car battle, they still hasn't let up. Even with these track temps and these slick conditions, they're not they're giving
And don't look now. Look who's on the back of that trio, Josh Soto. He's going to be eager to make up some spots to get some good points to the S1 drivers. And we saw a little bit of contact there, it looked like, between Brewster and Wilkie coming into the first apex of the triple left. Looks like it caused Brewster to lose a little bit of time, fall into the clutches of Soto.
Absolutely, and that is not a driver you want to be falling into the clutches of. I have raced him in Miatas before, and he is not slow. So I don't know how good his Miata skill transfers over to these Formula Fords, but it doesn't look like he's doing too shabby as he's trying to make the move.
Josh Soto, always aggressive, normally a really clean driver, going to be really eager. He's going to try to go around the outside on turn 11. He's going to stay alongside and have the inside on the run down the hill, and going to get this pass completed into the braking zone for the final corner and have a good run up the hill. Right now, looking like just at the edge of slipstream, but knowing Josh, he's going to carry enough speed through that first corner to close that gap a little bit to the 2 cars ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh now has a bit of work to make up, but with these two battling up here, Walker and Wilkie, they might get there. And like you said, Randall, they've already come together once. It's only going to take, the wrong type of contact with these cars, and we've seen what happens.
We see the gap is staying a little stationary now. It's going to close down through some of these slower corners. I'm going to guess that Soto's able to carry a little bit more apex speed than some of these Spec 2 drivers. And I don't know how much experience Soto has in these cars, and you're right, his Miata experience may or may not translate. I'm guessing it's probably going to do pretty good. These are low grip cars, kind of like the Miata, good for slip angle usage and sliding it around a little bit. We see, speaking of sliding, running a little bit wide there. These cars are still really sending it through turn 8 and coming off quite a bit loose.
Let's talk about Alan DeGeus here for a minute. Still sitting there, or DeGasis, sorry. Still sitting there in 7th place overall, first in the Masters. Jimmy Brewster has fallen back a couple positions. Alan is in a great position to make up quite a few spots, with Jorg having a bit of trouble at the beginning of the race.
He's also providing a buffer for Garcia, putting one car between him and P2 in the Spec 2. But yes, you're absolutely right. This is going to be great points haul if he can get a couple more spots off of this pit strategy too, it'll be even better, as the gaps between positions for points are bigger at the top end of the field than they are at the back of the field. But having a few cars between you like this is going to make a good finish turn into a great finish.
Back to the battle again. They're back at it, Randall. And look, Soto is closing on him now as they are battling through the middle part of the track.
And if I'm up in front of Soto, I want to be in the lead. I want to have to deal with Josh Soto as late as possible, hoping that he gets into a mistake or into a bit of an embroiled battle with the other driver and gives you a bit of breathing room. But right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Not going to be any breakaways yet, and I'm going to guess that we're going to see Soto make another move into turn 11.
We'll see if he tries to make it happen. It's coming up now, and the mistake generator for the spec racers, it was not turn 11, but the mistake generator for these Formula Fords is turn 11. Are they all going to get through there clean? Very clean, actually.
You see a bit of a different approach through those two corners from all three of those drivers, and we saw what it did to the gap. It looked like that Walker had to take a bit of a different line, as we see the two of the three dip into the pits. Josh Soto making a reaction. He's going to retain a slipstream off of the car in front of him if he comes out behind him, and maybe even jump him here.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens with those drivers now. See what happens with Walker as well. Going to be interesting here. We are starting to see the pit stops, and that was going to be my next question. We've just crossed over that halfway mark. And Stevie, I'm coming to you. What are the fuel takes limited to in this in the Formula Fords?
They're limited to 85%, which is 7 gallons.
Okay, so they could push further, but I think like what you said, they're trying to make their pit stops as early as possible and just fill it up and go right back on out.
Yeah, we tried to figure out what roughly 30 minutes of fuel is for both this and the Spec Racer Ford. So whatever that was, it was 85%, and I just don't remember. 4.9 gallons is what it is.
Awesome. Okay, and we had York Miney in the chat saying, "Shoot, Antonio, sorry, my mistake all the way." York, thanks for popping in there. But yeah, so we've got Sam still up here in the lead, and not just by a little bit, Randall.
No, he has got a commanding lead. It's up to 7 seconds now and growing, and I suspect that it's going to get even bigger after the pit stop. We did see the pit stop shake out for Josh Soto, Josh Wilkie, and Soto now in front of Wilkie, so was able to jump there. And I was watching the pit exit as Soto came out, and Soren Gerrits was able to get around him. Soto came out as Gerrits was coming through. Gerrits was able to get around him. Pit exit here can actually be a bit tricky for the driver that's on track. We saw last week in the Spec Racer Ford in the practice session, if there's contact between a driver on the track and a driver coming from the pit lane, it typically works out the worst for the inside driver, which is a bit different than what you would normally see.
Yeah, absolutely. But nonetheless, Soto sitting right now. We're going to see when all the pit stops start to cycle through where he is, but he still has a chance. Like I said, you don't ever want to count this guy out, but man, I just can't get over how fast Sam Spinell is. I mean, every lap he's putting 3 to 4 tenths of a second on the rest of the field.
We saw very early on while he was under pressure, he was not able to pull away, and then something happened that we missed. It's not coming up on our timing screen as an actual incident, so we wonder if somebody just ran wide or what happened there. But once he got a sniff of a gap, it really opened it up wide, and it's approaching 8 seconds or after just a couple laps back when it was just 7 seconds. We also see a gap from Barry back to Green getting a bit wider, not as quickly as we saw between Spinell and Barry, but it is getting wider. And then a big way back, Christian Kabanka, another nearly 8 seconds back from P3 when he was challenging for the lead early in this race.
Yeah, we've got also timing tower. Blue means lap cars, so the field has been lapped all the way up to 12th place at this point. I don't believe Sam has come into the pits yet, so that might cycle out. Yeah, that is definitely what's happening. So half the field right now is showing a lap down, but that's just because Sam has not decided to make his pit stop yet.
We got Gary Walball in the pit lane now. waiting for him to get back underway, refueling the car. Doesn't look like there's any damage there, so he's gonna, as we see him now back underway, coming out to the pit exit. We'll see if he's coming out into any traffic. Right now it's looking pretty stretched out, so even if there is any traffic, it should just be one car. I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth. There's actually 3 cars coming up the hill as he's gonna take the pit exit. So he's gonna have a bit of traffic.
Boy.
All 3 might be clearing him. The last car is gonna have a bit of a view of him coming in, and he takes a really wide pit exit there, and manages to rejoin. As we see in front of him, a bit of a spin.
That was Jeff Jacobson, able to not collect anybody else on his way around. Gary, really may need to change his pants after the end of this race, but got through there. That is not where you want to see a spin.
No, it's not. And even the cars as slow as this, that triple left-hander can still catch people out, can still catch you out. It's very, very tricky to get the braking right through there. You don't really have a moment of time where you have the wheel straight after that first apex. So still catching people out this far into the race.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and I don't think it's going to stop catching people out here, Randall. We are about 14 minutes away from the checkered flag here. Sam Spinale now 8 seconds up, looking for battles throughout the field. Things look like they have definitely calmed down a little bit. Jorge Gonzaga now in the pits. Yeah, the battles at the beginning and the battles now. It's crazy to see how the ebb and the flow of this race is going. What do you think, Randall? You think it's going to get tight at the end here between any of these drivers?
This is a much more technical track than what we saw last week at Sebring Club, so no surprise that the cars have spread out quite a bit. We'll probably see some fighting into the midfield. We see Jorge Gonzaga is now pulling out of the pits into a clean bit of track, but there's not a lot of cars that are close together for battling, and we're not even seeing many cars come in together. We're seeing them all pit 1 or 2 at a time as Christian Cabanca comes into the pits. And so I don't think we're going to see much wheel-to-wheel battling anymore through this race. It's mostly going to be, if anybody has a mistake somewhere, trying to pick up those freebies from the drivers behind, trying to pick up a freebie maybe from a self-spin. But we don't see many cars together.
No, absolutely. Christian Cabanca, speaking of, coming out. Yep, wide open track, maybe. Yep, right in the middle of the 933 and the 316. So, yeah, absolutely nothing doing for Christian. Unfortunate for whatever may have happened to him.
Adam, I think James Berry may have had a bit of an incident or an off track on his own. We just saw that gap get bigger by a couple seconds as we were talking about Christian coming out of the pits.
I think
so
we can.
James Berry may be struggling.
Well, why don't we take a gander here and see what exactly happened to James?
We're coming through turn 8. Has been an issue for some drivers coming through turn 9. It gets just a little bit loose, so he didn't look like he was too terrible coming out of turn 8, but maybe it just overheated the tires a bit more than it appeared and struggled there at turn 9. Was able to catch it pretty quickly, but lost a handful of seconds.
Look at that's what's and now Jason Green all of a sudden can see him. And he can see him, and he's closing now. It was 2 seconds after the spin, down to 1.7-ish. Wonder if James is really starting to struggle, like you said, with those tires, maybe trying to get as close as he could to Sam. May not be reaping the rewards of that now for the last 10 minutes of this race.
So we could see a position swap here or a battle after the pit stop. We'll see who gets the faster pit time. We saw one other driver come in, Jimmy Litbaka, in this time. But right now, pit lane is empty.
It is, and that's it's wild to me that it didn't seem full even when there were drivers coming in. Like you said, the pit lane never was that busy.
We're gonna get busy here real quick. We're coming up on that 30-minute mark, and they're within one lap's time of that 30-minute mark. So we're gonna see a bunch of people diving into pit lane. We might have had a couple of drivers to save a bit to get an extra lap, to try to steal a point for leading a lap.
Cabanca already back onto the back of Brewster. We saw Cabanca came out around 2 seconds behind Brewster, and he is already there. Cabanca has whatever has happened to him in the beginning stages of this race seems to have rectified itself, and he's coming.
That pit crew was able to maybe affect a little bit of repairs. I don't know if Christian was carrying any damage from whatever had happened earlier in the race, but he has been fast all day. He should make short work of Brewster. possibly coming through turn 11. I don't know. He might not be close enough, but we should, if not here, we'll see it probably going into turn 1.
Absolutely. Let's see what happens. Man, it doesn't.
Jason Green is in the pits.
Jason Green, yes, in the pits. We'll see. He was in and out. That was a very quick stop.
We'll try to get the pit time once he comes clear. Right now, the fastest time that I'm seeing on the charts is a 37.7 out of Christian Kabenka, and we got a 37.9 pit time for Jason Green. That's total pit time, not just stationary time.
Yep, 12.2 seconds in the pits as it is. So we're going to have to see here. Now, Stevie, I'm going to come back to you for 1 second here. Obviously, forced pit stops. I love forced pit stops. It creates a bit of, it could introduce some error for these drivers that have just been driving around. What is your strategy or your thought process when you're getting into these pits?
Well, like I said, I figure out and go as soon as possible, and sometimes that's just not right because you come back out in the middle of the pack in the back and in a war zone. But getting in, the guys will push it, and we don't have track or speed pit limiters on these cars or the SRF, so it's all in your foot.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what that's my worry here. I mean, I've done it before winning races as well. Like, all it takes is just a couple miles an hour faster. You want to push it right to the end. One little lockup, and you're going 47 instead of 45. I don't even know what the pit lane limit, speed limit is through here, Randall. I don't know if you've got that information, but yeah, it doesn't take much to really make a mistake. And Sam could go from winning this race to way back.
It's happened in the weekend Warriors races before. The leader overspeeds in the pits and gets sent back. So, like you said, it does add quite a bit of strategy, add something different to the races, and we like it. Some guys prefer purist racing, but it's done well for us in the league.
Absolutely, Randall. So, obviously, Sam, and with this 11-second, now 12-second interval back to Barry, really don't have to push that hard into the pits. So I would assume we're probably going to see Sam crawling in as he comes in now. Doesn't really look like he was doing much crawling. He was moving pretty quick.
And we had Megan Overstreet come in on the previous lap along with Alan DeGasis. Megan had quite a long stop. She ended up with a 47.6 total stop time. James Berry dipping into the pits now too. We should see the rest of the drivers that haven't pit come in this lap. That pit lane speed limit here, 37 miles an hour, agonizingly slow and very hard to get the car woe down to if you're really trying to attack pit entry. You see Wilson Garcia diving into the pits now too.
Yep, absolutely. We do see Sam on pit exit. So Sam had a very clean stop, See exactly where he comes out. Jason Green, though, oh my goodness, that scared me. I don't know what was happening there. I was looking at the intervals and not the gap to the leader. I thought Jason had a burst of speed out of somewhere.
We're going to have a race coming out of pit lane here.
Yep, Barry is going to be able to get out in front of Green, but Green has closed, and he's closed big time.
And he's got more speed coming through that first corner. We'll probably be able to close up more here. We see the gap right now is about 1 second, 1.1 seconds. So Jason could find himself in slipstream range here with a good chance to fight for that second step of the podium at the end of the race.
Go back
Jason
here Go ahead, Stevie. Sorry.
I was going to say, Jason is famous for saving a little fuel at the beginning and after the pit stops being right there to challenge. He's kind of known for that.
Yeah, and that was another thing, Randall, that we haven't really talked about is fuel conservation, right? Because you could come in and have to take a little bit less fuel if you do it right, and that would help. I mean, a second or two in the pits is massive.
Absolutely, and he was an entire second faster than James Berry in total pit time and 0.8 faster than Sam Spinell. So you're right, he was able to save a little bit of fuel, have a shorter stop time, maybe even attack the entry a bit more and got off much quicker.
Let's go back here to this battle. Joshua Soto and Joshua Wilkie are back at it again. It doesn't really look like Soto's been able to...
Oh, no!
Well,
Soto has clearly had the inside there, and Wilkie just not leaving him enough space. There was some wheel-to-wheel contact. Soto coming off the worst for it. Looks like both are going to be able to get going again, though.
Well, Soto has gone straight to the pit, so that's unfortunate. Let's go back, and we will try to watch this one more time here. See if we can get a couple different views on this. So you can see Wilkie there on the inside in the blue and green car, Soto on the outside in the orange and black car, side by side.
This is turn 5. They're coming through side by side. Soto going to have the inside on the run up the hill to turn 6. Going to have very clear position. He's even ahead at the turn entry point and takes that inside line. It doesn't look like he runs very wide here. He's going to get all the way over to that apex curving, so plenty of room on the outside. And it looks like Wilkie just doesn't quite leave him in enough space, and their wheels touch, and that sends Soto around and into the kitty litter. Wilkie's spinning as well. He's able to get it back going again, and it looks like he's dipped into the pit lane. I don't know if he might have picked up a drive-through penalty. The incidents here are pretty tight in this league. He might have picked up the drive-through penalty after that contact.
Yep, that is unfortunate. We do have another battle, though, between Cathcart and Brewster here, and this is for a battle for in class. Excuse me. They are both in this Masters division, I believe. Yes, they are. So we've got Cathcart and Brewster here. This is for P2 in division or in class.
Cathcart chasing Brewster right now as they're coming through. It looks like turn 11 possibly. No, turn 6.
Coming up to turn 11
down
here
the
shortly.
hill. Turn 8. They both look pretty tame right now through turn 8 and turn 9. A much tighter exit there than for Brewster. Or sorry, for Cathcart. Brewster taking making a bit more use of the track width, probably going to carry a bit more speed there as he runs a tighter line through the middle of 11. These two are going to be right there close together coming through the final corner. As long as Brad Cathcart can get a good run through this final corner, he's going to be right there in the slipstream and be able to challenge going into that triple left-hander.
Here he comes. Is he going to get enough slipstream? 4 tenths, 3 tenths. Going to get it. Try to get it down to 2. I don't think he's going to be close enough on this lap. He's only got about 4 more minutes to do it, and that should be, about 3 laps. So he's going to have to do it if he wants to get it done.
It could be.
Oh no!
Could be. Oh, the little contact. No, they were able to survive that one. I think a little bit of touchy there, but not enough to do any damage or to break them up. So they're going to continue to fight. We see Brewster taking a defensive line there through turn 5. You got another battle here with Lidbaka, and is that Antonio Reese ahead of him?
It is. Yes, Antonio Reese just got by Litbaka. We got to get back to this battle, though, because Brewster and Cathcart, it is all there. And it looks like Brewster may have got it done.
Brewster is ahead now. Maybe we can pull that pass back up to see where it happened. It looked like it may have happened down in turn 5 as they're coming through turn 9 now, running back up the hill. Right now, they're in a bit of a bubble, so they have plenty of room to fight without having to suffer the consequences of somebody from behind sneaking up on them. But I don't think that Cathcart's done here.
No, he is definitely not, but I don't know. It looks like Brewster may have a little bit more pace on Cathcart. He's really got to get going.
So coming through the final corner, we're going to see another run up the hill. Cathcart going to try to use that slipstream to try to set up a move through the first 3 apexes here. He's just not quite close enough to have something happen this lap. You really need to get a good run off turn 11, be closer to him, get that perfect run off the final corner to have a chance here down the front straight. The slipstream pretty powerful in these cars, but you still need to be a lot closer.
Absolutely, but I mean, that's not saying you just got to put a little bit of pressure on him. I know Brewster knows that they are coming to the waning stages of this race, about 2 laps to go. So all he needs to do is keep the pressure on, and it looks like Brewster may be trying to go a little bit defensive, and he is on Cathcart. Cathcart was thought better going down to the inside of that one.
Right now, they're just trying to probe each other, trying to figure out where one might be faster than the other, one might be slower than the other, and they seem to come up in a bit of a stalemate. It's going to have to be maybe Cathcart can lull Brewster to sleep here, but they're running out of time. That could be the white flag this time by even.
It could very well be. We are here on board, not on board, but watching Sam Spinale here. 39-10. It looks like this definitely will be the white flag. We'll see if we can see the flag stand and a white flag getting waved by the flag man. Maybe. just maybe, but we have got to get back to this battle very quickly because it doesn't look like it's going away. It looks like Cathcart has lost just a little bit of time, though, if you're looking at your intervals. Antonio Reese as well is in a very, very close battle with Gonzaga.
And they're not very far ahead of the overall leader here either. So Sam really putting this field down an entire lap, that would have probably foiled a bit of the driver's fuel strategies. They probably could have taken a lap less fuel and gained a position out of it. Thinking specifically about Brewster and Cathcart, I wonder if they accounted for the fact of being a lap down.
Yeah, that's very true. It looks like Brewster has really gapped now. Cathcart, I don't know if Cathcart may be trying to fuel save here because he looks very slow.
This didn't get to see if there was an incident or possibly a mistake from Cathcart that made this gap, but you're right, he looks a little bit slow. I would think them being a lap down, they wouldn't be that short on fuel, but he could have really gotten it wrong in the pit stops and have to save now. But that gap is getting bigger back from Brewster.
Green back here on Barry. He's going to have to make it happen soon, and this is for P2 overall, P2 in S1 as well. Spinale about to cross the line very, very soon. We will get to him in 1 second, but it does look like Green is really doing what he can here on Barry, but I don't think he's going to have enough time.
He's not really close unless Barry makes a mistake here in the closing corners. He's just going to run out of laps.
Another battle here between Reese and Love. Oh, my goodness.
We got 3 cars together here. Actually, Sam Spinale is behind these two, or behind this group. But nothing going to happen here. None of the cars close enough to make a move coming towards the line.
All right, back up here to Green. Spinale does cross the line, wins the race. We do have James Barry coming. It looks like he's going to be able to hold on to that position from Jason Green. Christian Kabeka, with whatever happened at the beginning of the race, coming back to finish 4th overall. We got Wilson Bruce Orozco coming to win the Spec 2 side of things. Also 5th overall. Great drive from Mr. Bruce Orozco. Really nobody around him. Megan Overstreet with her fair share of battles today. Randall coming home 6th.
Yeah, she had that incident early and only managed to salvage so that she lost only 1 spot from where she started. So a good recovery run. We see Alan DeGeis coming out of the final corner, the run up the hill. Not going to be very many battles left in the pack. Everybody's a bit stretched out. Behind him, Soren Gerritsen. He was one of the first cars to pit with the big group of drivers out of the entire race, was one of the first and had one of the quicker pit stops and managed to parlay that into a pretty good finish. Bill Walker coming across P9 overall. P10 going to be Jimmy Brewster, followed by Brad Cathcart. It's going to be Adam Barney. Brad Cathcart has dropped back quite a few spaces, so you may be right. He may have been struggling with fuel.
He's just...
he's struggling, period.
Yeah, his car has just gone around on him. That is unfortunate for Cathcart. Still hasn't crossed the line either. Still very, very slow, even to the line. I hear it sputter, and he might not... He's going to get there.
He might have to get out and push, but I think he's going to make it there before any other cars come around that final corner. Quite a big gap back to anybody else. He crosses the line barely under his own power, and he's going to be happy to see France in his rearview mirror after this race.
That was definitely unfortunate there, but we do have some results, or we will have some results for you here extremely quickly, hopefully. There we go. Go ahead, Randall.
Sam Spinale, you would have needed a calendar to measure this gap and not a stopwatch. 12.3 seconds over P2. James Barry is able to keep it in front of Jason Green after we saw some battling possibly going on after the pit stop. Christian Kabenka, who was challenging for the lead, was able to close that gap up to P2 and P3 a bit, but comes home at P4. Wilson Garcia, with an astounding top 5 finish overall, is going to win the S2 division. Megan Overstreet, saw her have one little incident early in the race and comes home P6. Alan DeGeis is going to win the Masters division, P7 overall, ahead of Soren Garrett, who comes home P8. Bill Walker P2 in the Spec 2. coming home P9. Jimmy Brewster holding off Brad Cathcart there in the closing stages of the race, comes home P2 in Masters, P10 overall. Adam Barney, P11. Antonio Race comes home P12. We saw him get together with Urine Garrett's, unfortunately gathered up there and was running a bit better. A nice recovery run. Andrew Love comes home P13. Brad Cathcart, they're just really struggling at the end of the race, brings it home P14. Josh Wilkie coming home P15. Jeff Jacobson coming home in P16. Jimmy Litvaca P17. Jorge Gonzaga brings it home in P18. Dana Bowes coming home P19. Jake Richardson P20. Gary Wobolt P21. Josh Soto, after making quite a bit of a charge up to the field, gets gathered in an incident and then retires the car, finishes P22. Michael McConnell P23, and most of these drivers were involved in incidents and ended up retiring the car, including David Foy, Paul Jackson, Jesus Rodriguez, Jurg Manny, and Thor Tulu. And actually, I don't think that Thor took to the grid. He's throwing his 28 laps down, so may not have even taken a corner and just didn't start the race at all.
Yeah, I saw that here. So we're going to try to get some drivers in here. It looks like we got one waiting for us, Randall.
And I'm trying to figure out who that is exactly. Oh, we have... I've managed to find Jim Brewster. Jim, we saw you battling with Brad Cathcart there in the closing stages of the race. Tell us a bit about it.
Oh, that was lots of fun. Hey, this track is really, really tough. We ran it here with the V's last year, and with the V's, we do a Friday night 2-hour fun open practice session. So we learned it real good, and then all us V guys did pretty good in the surfs last week, and then again this week. It's a tough joint. But yeah, Brad was running really good. I assume he ran out of gas because all of a sudden he fell back at the end, so I'm guessing he was a little short on fuel, but fun stuff.
We saw you gained 11 positions this race. Some of that due to some incidents ahead of you, but obviously making some moves on track. What was it like dealing with the traffic today?
I got lucky on the start. I was on the inside row, and I'm usually really careful on the start because you'll see I haven't said I'm sorry to anybody in about 2 years because I haven't needed to. But I gained 4 on the first lap, which for me that's like an all-time record. And the rest was just attrition because if you look at my lap times, I'm running slow. I'm consistent, but I'm nowhere near. I don't know how the leaders are doing 26s. So, but enjoyable track, lots of fun, sweaty, hard work.
So a good P2 finish in division for you today. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go?
Well, this is the first time with you guys, but my sister Tam watches from Argentina. She's Weekend Warriors #1 fan. She was just here, and she was actually in the announcer booth a race a short while ago. But say hi to her. And then my crew chief, my son, keeps my computers running, and my wife puts up with this. I tell people it's not a hobby, this is a lifestyle. And thanks to you guys for doing the show, and of course Stevie, who does so much hard work to make this all happen. And the racers. All right, well, the clean racers, love them.
Absolutely. So congratulations on a good finish today, and hopefully another one next week when we see you up here in the booth again.
Thanks.
That was P2 in the Masters Division, Jimmy Brewster, and these drivers are playing hide and seek with us right now. We can't seem to pin them down for an interview.
Well, I could imagine that there may not be a few drivers that want to talk after that race, but nonetheless, Randall, overall, I think it was still an absolutely amazing race.
I didn't think we could get much more exciting than we got with the Spec Racer Ford last week. These Formula Fords really put on a good show. Even though the pack got a bit spread out, we saw battles still going on towards the end of the race. Some incidents that were happening. Turn 8 really kind of caught me by surprise. I didn't expect these cars to be struggling so much through a corner like that, but it was catching quite a few drivers out, and it ended up paying off for some drivers and not so much for others.
Absolutely. But that is sometimes the name of the game when it comes to racing, Randall. So, well, let's bring up some upcoming streams here. today at 3:45, we are back again for another Weekend Warriors segment. It is going to be the Spec Racer Ford this time. Stevie, I know you're excited about this one. We're going to be at Monza. How do you think that one's going to go?
Can you say draft? Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. The Spec Racer Fords are huge draft monsters, and that track's kind of known for the draft. So I'm going to have to jump into that one and have some fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we look forward.
We see them talking about it in chat already, even. Some of these drivers looking forward to it. Some of the viewers looking forward to it. Draft party for sure. Full draft party and much drama into the bus stop. Absolutely. That's what Monza is known for.
Definitely excited for that one. And then tonight, if you didn't get enough drafting in the first one, XSLR is going to be at the Indianapolis Oval in the Asphalt Street Stock. So tune in for that with Tim Cox on the call. Thursday, we have SimCar coming back. They have switched from their GT3 and LMP2 series, and now they are just a full GT3 league for this season. They're starting off the Daytona road course. That should be a lot of fun. Then next Sunday at this time, well, an hour before this, they're going to be at Knock Hill in the Formula Ford. Should be another great race. Stevie, thank you so much for coming in and hanging out with us this afternoon, and we hope to see you on the track. We hope to see you winning.
Well, my pleasure. I don't think I'll be running up the top end, but it'll be a lot of fun.
Never say never, Stevie. But from myself, Randall McGrew, the league owner, admin, Stevie Ray, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and we will see you guys in about an hour.
I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
Yes.
but